Hey guys, my name is Jacob, and this week we are going to be smoking some ribs. Not going to be doing any real sauces or rubs to these. They're going to be a little bit plain. We're going to do one really cool thing with it that you may not have seen before, so make sure to stick around for that. I like to use a fillet knife, one, because it's, one, a lot of people have them around, and two, because it's really flexible and can kind of get in there and get the job done. As you can see here, we have the baby back with kind of the spare section off of it. What you need to do is just kind of feel for where those long ribs end, and then that will differentiate those two pieces, and you're going to want to slice along that line. It's really easy. The knife's going to do all the work for you. We're also going to be removing this fat and a bunch of extra meat. We are going to be saving that because we're going to do something with that a little bit later as well. So same thing, just remove anything that seems, kind of out of place. If it's not looking like ribs, it probably has to come off. So you can see this big fat cap here that we are getting through. Once again, just making these slices and pulling that away. A lot of the time too, the fat will just peel off. We are going to try and clean this rack up a little bit more, make it look a little bit more pretty, kind of that classic baby back ribs style that you probably have seen at restaurants. So that means that we need to do a little bit more trimming. We have to take off that section that we talked about before. Once again, feel for where the big bone ends and where the little bone begins. That's terrible. Anyways, moving on. You're going to let your knife do all of that work for you. You can kind of just feel along for it. You'll know you're in the right spot because you'll feel a bunch of underdeveloped ribs that are just kind of rubbery. They cook down really nice, actually. And on this rack, we are going to be taking off the silver skin. So if you've got an edge that's peeled up, you can grab a piece of paper towel or a napkin and, just peel that away. If you don't have that, make a little incision, grab an edge, same thing, peel it back. Some people like to pull this off. Some people like to leave it. I find if you're going to do like a low and slow braising with ribs, it's good to keep it on. It does have a tendency to curl the ribs though sometimes. So anyways, we're going to leave one on and keep the other one. We're going to get rid of the other one. Same thing, like I said before, very simple seasoning, just salt and pepper, nothing too crazy. Although we are going to throw adobo on the other rack. If you haven't tried adobo seasoning, it is fantastic. Now, we're going to be taking down these trimmings that we have a little bit further. We're going to try and remove as much fat off of them as possible. Once again, keep everything. Don't get rid of it. We're going to be using that fat here in a second. So what you want to do is preheat your oven to 250. You take all those fat trimmings, throw them into a giant cast iron, and you're going to put it in there for as long as you feel comfortable. Personally, I left these in for about 5 to 6 hours. Now it is time to uncover your barbecue. It is snowing out, which makes things a little bit tricky, but also gives you the opportunity to do a cool trick. I am rocking some fantastic pajama pants, so that's nice. Make sure to use charcoal that you definitely forgot in the snow. And a great way to start your charcoal is actually by using some paper towel with some butter in it. Lights up really nice, gets that going. Now, we don't want to burn the charcoal down too far, just until we get a couple of coals, because we don't want this to take off on us. Want to try and maintain somewhere between 225, 275. It's going to get up to 300 at some point. It happens. The other thing that you want to be aware of is putting the biggest hunk of meat closest to the fire. Now you can see my dog definitely checking things out, but now barbecue has been smoking for about 3 hours. That's what we're going to go for. We're going to go a 3-2-1 method. So we're going to smoke for 3 hours. They're still going to be pliable. They are going to pick up some color, but nothing too crazy yet. You can see we've rendered down a lot of that fat, but they're not that really burgundy that we want to get a little bit later on. They're going to take these back into the kitchen and we're going to wrap them. Now, I don't do aluminum foil, and butcher paper is actually really hard to find. Tasty. Butcher paper can be really hard to find. So parchment is something that everybody has. I just do a double layer of that, and that usually does pretty well. I like to leave the barbecue open during this time, and I should have cut out this part, but I forgot. Oh, right, that's why, because we need to add more charcoal. So once I take the meat off the barbecue, it is a good time to throw some more charcoal in there and let that get nice and hot and get that reactivated, because we're going to be going for another 2 hours. So same thing, just mix in some of those hot coals. Why not talk about a little bit of fire management? And the meat gets all the glory, but the fire is the thing that does all the work. Anyways, parchment, double layer of parchment. That's what we're going to be using. If you got butcher paper, go for it. I just don't know many people who who stock it, or it's not something easy to find. And what you need to do is make sure you're putting the meat down. That's going to come into play here in a second, because remember that fat? Yeah, we're going to put some of that back on. You could throw in things like apple cider vinegar, apple juice, wine, beer, whatever you want. Personally, I like to add that fat back in. I'm actually on a keto diet, so, I don't want to get preachy. Maybe I'll make some content about that, but I want to get that fat kind of back into that meat. So once again, meat down, wrap it all up nice and tight. I use 2 layers and throw it back on the barbecue. You can see we got those coals starting to light up now. Once again, we're aiming for that let's say 250 to 300 now. We can bring it up a little bit with them wrapped in parchment. 2 hours is what we're looking for. So another 2 hours. So same thing. I'm gonna add some more charcoal in. We've got 1 hour left. We want a nice hot fire for this with a little bit of smoke. As you can tell, those were cold. That was cold charcoal. I'm not a complete psycho. Add your wood chunks back in. I don't see a real need to soak them down. I know some people like to. I don't really see the need. They're going to dry out and burn anyway, so we need this smoke right away. So we're going to unpackage these ribs. Oh, look at that POV. Oh, man, so good. And with that wrap, it allows them to kind of steam internally a little bit. And we're also using that fat, once again, to kind of get back into the meat. And we're going to throw these back on the barbecue for an hour. A little bit hotter this time. I'm going to try and aim for 275 to 325. You can see all kind of that extra fat leaving out. One thing to note, I am using a water pan. Do like them, especially in this barbecue, helps regulate the temperature a lot more because this thing gets a little crazy sometimes. So this is what they're looking like before our last hour in. I'm going to crank this bad boy wide open, so as much heat as I can get. And I'm going to actually be brushing that leftover fat back on. I like a nice crispy skin on my ribs. Yes, I know I'm a little bit weird. Not a huge sauce person. Sauce does play a role. But in this case, if you want, you could put sauce on at this point for sure. Be a little bit careful because it can burn if it's a really, really sweet one. And if you are using sauce, I don't recommend doing this next step. So now that we got a nice hot bed of coals, it's been about 45 minutes, close to an hour, I believe. I don't know. I didn't really take notes. You should take notes when you barbecue, though. I don't. I mean, I did, but anyways, it's good. You can remember your temperatures and all that shit. But we're gonna really start to get these boys crispy. We are going to throw them back on that raging hot coals and try and crisp up those outside edges. Don't worry, we've packed a lot of fat in there. Tasty. Packed a lot of fat in there, and you can see that it chars up nicely. Not burnt, but very, very mahogany, which is what we want here. Also, make sure to let them rest so they don't dry out. But you can see a nice smoke ring and some delicious meat. Now, meat. All right, guys. So yeah, that's it. So about 6 hours cook time, obviously a little bit of time prepping. I've got our 2 different ribs here. One of them is the one with the skin on the back. Oh, sorry. This one has the skin on the back, as you can maybe see right here. This one does not. I don't notice anything really different when it comes to like smoke penetration or anything like that. Biggest thing is with the silver skin on the back, it's going to kind of hold that meat together. If you're gonna do braising or anything along those lines, I would recommend it. That being said, it can curl the meat sometimes. The only other difference is just adobo seasoning on it. So my mouth is watering really long on these. So see how it goes. Nice. Okay. So you can see this one definitely sticks to the bone a little bit more because of that. This one, the bone fell right out, so yeah, so both of them are amazing, don't get me wrong. The one without the silver skin on it is a little bit more tender, a little bit more difficult to deal with. It's kind of breaking apart a bit on me on the barbecue. One with the silver skin on it. As you can see here, I know people are like, oh, fall off the bone. Off the bone ribs are overcooked in my mind. You still want to be able to taste the meat. You still want some bite to it. It tastes really good. It allows you to really let the pork kind of speak for itself. Oh my god. Alright. Anyways, I'm going to go crush the rest of this. If there's other things you want to see me smoke, barbecue, cook, whatever, let me know. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you tomorrow.